Hello, everybody, and welcome to No Bones About Wrestling. I'm your host, Asa, and I'm here with Kay Fabulous.
Hey.
And this is your AEW Collision recap and review. And this AEW Collision is a little bit different because we were there, folks.
Yeah.
We were there. August 12th, 2023, in Greensboro, North Carolina. Which is most famous for being the start of the 60s sit-in movement, actually. The Woolworths counter is where the sit-in movement began, is actually still there. It is now part of the city's Civil Rights Museum. So, very cool part of American history is part of Greensboro history as well. Very sadly, it's part of one of the most horrific parts of American history, when the Ku Klux Klan were allowed to shoot and murder socialists on a public street and the police did nothing.
He's referring to the Greensboro Massacre.
Right. And that was in the 1970s?
Yeah, it was like 78.
In the 70s. So yeah, a lot of complicated and sad racial, racist history in North Carolina, but it's a beautiful state, and of course now not fraught with racial injustice everywhere you look. That of course was, almost 70 years ago, the sit-in movement. So things have improved.
It doesn't
greatly.
just have significant U.S. history, though. It also has significant wrestling history, doesn't it? The city of Greensboro?
It does, yes.
Specifically the Coliseum where
specifically the Coliseum. Well, the Greensboro Coliseum is one of the largest coliseums on the eastern seaboard. It has 23,500 seats. I believe I'm right on that number. It's 22 or 23,500.
And AEW did not fill them all.
No, they definitely did not. No, I forget what I read on the crowd, but it was like 5,500 or 6,500, something like that. Didn't quite get a sellout of the Greensboro Coliseum, but right, the history to which Kay is referring is several of the first Starcades, including the first Starcade, was at the Greensboro Coliseum. And if you're not familiar with Starcade, if you're younger. So, WWE has WrestleMania. Well, WCW, their big show was Starrcade. And before it was WCW's big show, it was the NWA Mid-Atlantic Promotions big show. And the NWA Mid-Atlantic promotion is what became WCW. It turned into WCW. NWA Mid-Atlantic is one of the last territories that held off and fought Vince McMahon, did not sell out. And they were all in the South, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, Florida, Georgia, Mississippi, etc. The Mid-Atlantic states, hence the name, and the South. The first several Starcades were held in the Greensboro Coliseum. They were held Thanksgiving night. That was the tradition. Go have Thanksgiving lunch with your family, and then go to the Greensboro Coliseum for concession stand dinner and wrestling matches. That was the tradition in Greensboro and the surrounding areas,
And in Winston-Salem now, to kind of keep that tradition alive, every Thanksgiving weekend, AML Wrestling puts on WrestleCade, which is a 3-day wrestling event that usually has a match and then, or a show rather, and then lots of
2 shows.
I'm sorry, 2 shows, and lots of guests for autograph signing and whatnot.
Yeah, this year, sorry to interrupt you.
It's okay.
This year, they're having a lot of guests. Sergeant Slaughter among them. He's probably the most famous. Bryan Danielson. There's one from today, who I guess he's probably more famous than Sergeant Slaughter nowadays. Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
But there's the two most famous, Bryan Danielson, Sergeant Slaughter, just to give you the caliber of athletes, both WWE World Champions. Jeff Hardy as well. Yep, and Matt Hardy.
Yeah, the Hardys.
And I could go on and on. But they do that on the Friday night, Black Friday as we call it now, the Friday after Thanksgiving. They're having Game Changer Wrestling, which I've not seen any of their shows, but I've seen the people who were on their shows, and their shows seem awesome.
I've seen some highlights from their shows. And their shows seem awesome.
Yeah, so that seems cool. I'm crossing my fingers that El Hijo del Vikingo is going to show up here in Winston-Salem, and I'm going to go see that little bastard. I tell you that. I love him. He's my favorite. He's great. He's my favorite wrestler today, no doubt. He's magical. He is something else. I mean, really. And then Saturday night, they're going to have AML Wrestling, which is our local independent. If you go back a bunch of episodes, we have, I think, 3 AML wrestling episodes that we did, which AML is the company. Again, it's called America's Most Liked Wrestling, AML Wrestling, which is such a strange name. I would love to talk to the owner about the name. I invited him to be on the show, but he never got back to me. So, that's a shame. Maybe I'll invite him again. Who knows?
Right, so it's to Collision.
To Collision, right. So, we had a show that wasn't as good as any of the shows I just talked about. It was Collision, August 12th, 2023. It started off with those quick promos, the quick 10-second promos they do at the top. The Acclaimed return to tag team action after being a trios with Billy Gunn for quite a while. And then Christian and the TNT champion Luchasaurus are in the house. And then after that, CMFTR, that is the trios team of CM Punk and FTR, all initials, CMFTR. They're teaming up tonight to go for the World Trios titles against the House of Black. I said teaming up tonight. You know what I mean. So we start off with a recap of Ricky Starks whipping Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Talk about legends, and talk about legends at the Greensboro Coliseum. It's odd that we're bringing up Ricky the Dragon Steamboat, and he wasn't at the Greensboro Coliseum show.
He will also be at WrestleCade.
He will also be at WrestleCade. There you go. Ricky Starks took off Steamboat's belt. That was Starks was in a match with whom? Who was it?
With CM Punk.
With CM Punk. That's what I thought. Oh, yeah. And
CM Punk's the one who invited Ricky Steamboat in to be the guest referee.
To be the guest referee on the outside, right?
Because in the previous 2 matches that Ricky won, he won both by cheating.
And Starks whipped Steamboat with his own belt. Starks has now been suspended from wrestling for 30 days.
But don't worry, he's not disappearing from your televisions.
Well, and here's something I want to say. So he's been suspended from wrestling for 30 days. We saw Swerve Strickland and AR Fox trespass and try to murder someone the other day, and they didn't fucking get suspended. They, cut him with glass, and he didn't get suspended a day. But
this is a legend.
Yeah, who cares about Nick Wayne, right?
Apparently.
Okay, I can go with that. But so, right.
And at the time, he was an AEW official. So you're beating up
Ricky
referee.
Steamboat was, yeah. So, Ricky Starks, as Kay said, will not be disappearing from your television. He's disappearing just from being a wrestler. He got a manager's license. And he was fired up for this promo.
Yes, he was, yeah.
He was fired up. This was one of the high spots of the show. He said he's going to show everybody and this and that, and he has no clients yet.
That he mentioned.
But he said he was going to show up and show us. I'm excited to see who he gets. You know?
He did it. I mean, this promo really made you excited for him to not wrestle and for him to be a manager. Like, what a great manager, such a good mouthpiece.
But I mean, why have him not wrestle for 30 days? Why have one of your hottest talents take a month off.
Maybe he has like an injury that he needs to rest
I
or something.
assume so.
That's what I figured.
I hope so. Otherwise, it seems like a really stupid decision.
Yeah.
So I assume it has to be something like that. And then Ricky, before it's all gone, before it's all said and done, like I said, he was fired up. He threatened to beat up Tony Schiavone.
Yes, he did.
He said, I'll beat your ass, too, or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He was fired up. And he was dressed very strangely.
Yeah,
Why don't you describe what he was wearing?
So, it was like a construction vest mixed with, like, I guess bungee jumping gear. It was like straps, but it was like construction worker yellow. It was just odd. He wears lots of odd vests. He's like super into these weird vests. And maybe that's like a fashion thing that I've missed out on somehow.
He was dressed like an erotic fireman.
Yeah, he looks.
You're missing the point. He was dressed
he
like a male stripper.
He was dressed like a male stripper.
Fireman.
Yeah. I would go with construction worker instead of fireman, but
he was dressed like a male stripper.
Yes, he was dressed like a male stripper.
There you go. Not a wrestler. Or a manager, for that case.
Yeah. It was an odd choice.
It was very odd. So next, we get a Young Bucks FTR feud recap. And the Young Bucks and FTR, of course, they're building this match. It is happening at All In. It's going to be fantastic, I'm sure. It's for the AEW World Tag Team titles, currently held by FTR. I'll be very interested to see that one. Those two men, of course, on opposite sides of this whole CM Punk and the Elite, whatever. Dislike, or whatever term you want to use for what's going on.
Cluster.
So up next, we had the Acclaimed in their return to tag team action. But don't worry, they're not wrestling anyone that you know or care about. They're wrestling Iron Savages.
You know them.
And they used to be Bear Country. And Bronson and Boulder. Their names may still be Bear Bronson and Bear Boulder. I don't know. They were called both on television. So I don't know. That's part of why this week's show is a little late, because we were at the show, but we wanted to watch it on television before, we wanted to watch it recorded on television later. So that's part of why we're late with this week's show, so we apologize for that. But so it's the Iron Savages. They are accompanied by their manager, someone named Jack Jameson, whom I've never seen before. You know who this guy was?
No.
No idea who this guy was. No introduction. He just shows up. Jack Jameson. So let's see. Bowens scissors himself in between blows on Bronson in the corner, because he doesn't have daddy ass to scissor anymore. One point, Boulder has Bowens on his back, while Max Caster flies at him with a crossbody splash. Boulder catches him. Boulder then falls back, slamming both men. Very impressive. Very impressive. Boulder attempts a middle rope moonsault on Caster and misses. Still very impressive that he did the moonsault. Bronson misses a splash on Caster, and Caster gets Bowens for the hot tag. Bowens takes out Bronson. The Iron Savages, however, pick up Bowens for a double slam, and Caster saves Bowens after the 2 count. They go for some dumb move called a human stack, in which Bronson climbs atop Boulder's shoulders. I don't know what the point of it is, but it didn't work. It looked like something the Three Stooges would do to trick someone into thinking they were 8 feet tall.
That is a good call. That is exactly what it looks like.
Caster came off with a top rope drop kick, ruined whatever their plan was, because he took out the man on top, Bronson. And Max Caster then, with a fireman's carry, slam on Boulder. And then Jack Jameson, they get him in the ring, this manager, whoever this guy is, and the Scissor Me Timbers on him. Then double Fame Masters in memory of the late Billy Gunn. No, he's not really dead. I'm joking. The double Fame Masters in the honor of Billy Gunn. And Max Caster pins Bronson for the 3 count. It was pretty fun match. Decent spots. Nothing amazing. 3.5 bones out of 5. It was a fun match.
I wouldn't say nothing amazing. I feel like getting Bowens up on your shoulders and then catching.
Oh, no, that was amazing.
I'm sorry. That's amazing.
The match itself was not amazing.
Yeah, no. But there was an
that was amazing. Yeah. That was amazing. Yes, the match itself was not amazing.
So what's your bone rating for this one?
3.5 bones out of 5.
Okay.
Yeah, I just said it.
Oh, sorry. I was.
I literally just said it.
I like to hear it twice.
3.5 bones out of 5. Before I get your take on this match, I will. We're talking about Greensboro Coliseum wrestling history. It's interesting because the Greensboro Coliseum is the exact spot where Billy Gunn achieved. We're all talking about Billy Gunn and his memory and missing him and all this. The Greensboro Coliseum is where he achieved one of the pinnacles of his career. It's where he won King of the Ring in 1999. And King of the Ring, nowadays it's become more of a middle card tournament. Back then, it was a springboard. It was for mid-carders to jump up into the lower, to jump into the upper middle card, or the high card even. And that was the intention, was for Billy Gunn to jump into the upper card, and he was going to actually. His greatest fan in the company, why he won King of the Ring, was Vince Russo. Who would believe Vince Russo was behind Mr. Ass? Who would you ever believe it? But yeah, the man behind Mr. Ass, Vince Russo, left WWF for WCW, so the Billy Gunn push never happened.
Oh, I see.
So the man most hurt by Vince Russo leaving for WCW may have been Billy Gunn, because who knows? He was a good worker. He was a very good worker who never got his credit until he won King of the Ring, and then won the Intercontinental title. Never got his credit until then that he deserved, and a lot of people still that was underrated until he got noticed with the Acclaimed. I mean, he's always been a heck of a worker, I thought, and just didn't understand why he never got included in any conversations about being a good worker. So I don't know, but I just want to point that out. And actually, I was there when he won King of the Ring in 1999. I was at the Greensboro Coliseum then also.
That's cool.
When he won King of the Ring, yeah. I wasn't cheering for him, but it was cool to see him win.
Who were you cheering for?
I was cheering for. Let me think back. I know I can narrow it down to 2.
That's fine. I think narrowing it down to 2 is sufficient.
I was either cheering. I think the King of the Ring had 3 members of DX in it, out of 8 people in the tournament. This is back when the King of the Ring tournament, they did the quarterfinals, the semifinals, and the final all in one night.
Oh, okay.
And had other matches. So they did 7 King of the Ring matches and like 3 or 4 other matches in one night. So it was big shit back then.
Yeah.
Like, it was a big thing. And before then, before 1999, it used to be the winner of King of the Ring got the title shot at SummerSlam. That's the way it was intended for several years. But I won't go into all that. But it was a big thing, and then it just slowly dissipated and becoming less and less until Xavier Woods won it in 2021 or 2022, and now didn't even do it this year. 2022, did he win it?
I believe so, but I'm not positive.
Yeah. Whatever last year they did it was, I think it was 2022 last year. I think he won it. Yeah, I was either going for Road Dogg Jesse James or I was going for X-Pac, the two other members of DX in it. I was going for the other two members of DX who were in it, yeah. Because Billy Gunn was not my favorite member of DX, no. But I liked him. I liked everyone in DX. I was the perfect age for DX, you know?
Yeah, I came into wrestling late, so I am not the perfect age for DX.
Well, plus you're a woman.
Yeah, plus I'm a woman.
I don't think DX is made for... Well, no, DX had Chyna. I mean, which was awesome. She was, intergender... She was the queen of intergender wrestling for several years there. Won the Intercontinental title. Was the first woman to appear in a Royal Rumble. I believe was the first woman to appear in a King of the Ring tournament. Now that I said it, I feel I'm wrong about that. Scratch that. I know she was the first woman to appear in a Royal Rumble, though, and win the Intercontinental title.
That's cool.
Yeah. Okay. What did you think about the Acclaimed? We got way off track there.
Yes, we did.
Talking about Billy Gunn and the 1999 King of the Ring. Well, let's talk about the Acclaimed, and Daddy Ass just retired, and we're at the Greensboro Coliseum. We can't not talk about Billy Gunn and the 1999 King of the Ring. So what did you think of the Acclaimed versus Iron Savages? Back to 2023.
I was actually really pleased with this match. Because leading up to Collision, we just got the Acclaimed will be in action, which anytime they put in action usually means jobbers, and I actually knew who these people were. And to me, they're not jobbers because they appear on Ring of Honor somewhat regularly, occasionally. And so...
Yeah, but they pull that shit where they'll bring someone over from Ring of Honor who's not a jobber and treat them as a jobber.
Yeah, but that wasn't what this was.
That wasn't what they did.
So I was really pleased with that. The only things I feel like are important to the story of the match that you left out or just didn't quite hit as hard as I would have is Boulder when he had Bowens on his shoulders and then caught Caster. The crowd went like crazy and was so behind him. And then he does this stupid stomping thing after he does like a backdrop to like drop them both on the mat. And then stands up and does this like, I'm a giant, I'm gonna stomp around the ring thing. And it like sucked all the air out of his heat. Like it was like he followed the coolest thing in the entire match with the dumbest thing in the entire match. And it just like the crowd like instantly deadened, you know?
True. Very true. I forgot about that.
Yeah, and then he does it again later when, like, on his way to put Bronson on his shoulders. He does the stomping thing. He's got to stop it with that. That's not cool. And then throughout the match, there were several times when Caster tried to get Boulder up on his shoulders and was unsuccessful. And so that moment towards the end, when Caster finally gets Boulder up for the fireman's carry slam, I feel like was a bigger deal than you let on, because it was like this, like, I felt like it really added to the story that he kept like struggling to do this and was unsuccessful, and then finally he got enough strength to be able to do it, you know?
Yeah.
It made the match more exciting.
You were right. And that's why you're here. You're good at picking up what I've left off.
That's my job.
Yep. Picking up the scraps.
Yep.
Yeah, good call. All right, up next, Lexi Nair is with Bullet Club Gold. And the Guns, of course, they're there with Jay White and Juice Robinson. And the Guns say they're coming to Dynamite this coming week to face the Young Bucks. And they want to show them they're not just on Collision. They're on Dynamite. So instead of getting the Young Bucks to come to Collision, why would they do that? They're going to Dynamite to face them.
To prove that they're the better brother tag team.
Right. We then get an MJF Adam Cole video package about their whole deal. About how they went through the tag team tournament as rivals and partners, and about how they'll be at All In as rivals and as partners. Of course, they're facing each other in the main event for the world title, and in the 0 Hour, they're competing against Aussie Open for the Ring of Honor World Tag Team titles. Very cool.
I have a question about that. So, does this mean that if they win and beat Aussie Open as a tag team, that they're going to start showing up on Ring of Honor? They'd have to, right? Because they have the titles.
Every so many days, at least, they'd have to.
I just can't imagine MJF, like, willingly going to Ring of Honor. Because,
I mean, they do it at the same arenas where they do Collision.
I meant, like, as part of his character. Because, like, his character, up until Adam Cole, where he offers him a match, normally he fights tooth and nail to not have a match with anyone. And so...
but not anymore.
That's true. He does.
Not
he
anymore.
has
Changed.
turned a new page in the book of MJF.
Mm-hmm.
Huh. It's just hard to imagine him on Ring of Honor. But maybe that'll bring more people to Ring of Honor to appreciate it like I appreciate it.
I appreciate it.
I know. I wasn't talking about you. I'm talking about people who blow it off as, like, not a real company or show or something, you know?
Its viewership is small, but...
Committed. Yeah.
Yeah, you can't be a small fan of Ring of Honor. You gotta like it. You
gotta love it.
You gotta pay for it. So
yeah.
It's you gotta really like it. Up next, we had a women's tag team match. Was looking forward to this. Let me see, this may have been the match of the night.
What?
Just 1 second here.
Over the main event?
It was not, I'm sorry.
It was the second best match of the night.
It was the second best match of the night.
So we have Chris Statlander, the current TBS Women's Champion, and Willow Nightingale in one corner. And then in the other, we have Mercedes Martinez, former Ring of Honor Women's Champion. And then we also have Diamante.
You fit an amazing amount of uhs into that match introduction.
I'm good at that.
It's very good. So, right, that's who it was. Hurricane Rana by Diamante on Statlander. Martinez lifts Nightingale and slams her down. Diamante and Martinez put Willow in that stupid paradise lock thing.
Yeah.
If you haven't seen this, what they do is they lock someone's hands with their legs, and then they like stand on their hands so that they can't move. The idea is they can't move, can't get themselves out of the lock, which is stupid as it is. But they took it a step further into stupidity because they actually stepped off the hands as though Willow Nightingale could not get herself out of this lock. The only thing that seemingly can get people out of this lock, because they've been perfectly placed there, is a drop kick to the ass. And that's what knocks people out of it.
I've only seen the Paradise Lock like this, like where the person eventually walks away and leaves them in the Paradise Lock. Like, so I think it's normal to step off of them and leave them, quote unquote, like tied up basically with themselves. Like that's a physically possible thing to happen.
I'm all for having fun in wrestling, but that shit's stupid.
Yeah,
that shit's stupid. I'm not for having stupid in wrestling, and that shit is stupid. Yeah, it's not funny. It's not fun.
I don't think it's supposed to be funny. Like, it's not done in a comical
way. No, that's
way.
the problem with it. It's not supposed to be funny. It's just stupid.
Yeah, it's like I tied you in a human knot. and now I'm going to leave you there and walk away, and you're stuck. Which, like, we all have bodies. We all understand how the human bodies work.
I think it is supposed to be a little funny, but it's not.
I don't think it is.
I think it is, but it's not. Anyways, Willow with a cartwheel to avoid the double clothesline. She then hits a spine buster on Martinez and an Uranagi on Diamante, and makes the hot tag to Chris Statlander. Drop kicks both heels down, does Statlander. Diamante back up with a stunner on Statlander. Martinez picks up Diamante, and they've gotten the two faces on the outside, and Martinez picks Diamante up at an outsider's edge and throws her onto the two faces. Very strange move by the heels, but she got him. She hit him. Back inside the ring, Diamante hits sliced bread on Willow and then yells an audible, "Fuck you," and gives her the finger. Statlander hits a nice fisherman's buster driver, then a bayonet to the back of the head by Martinez. Willow reaches for Diamante while she has Martinez on her shoulders. Martinez drops into pinning position for 2. Martinez reverses the pin and gets some leverage from Diamante for the pin and the 1, 2, and the 3 count. And Martinez and Diamante squeak by with the win. This was a pretty darn good tag team match. I give it 4 bones out of 5. Nice match by all 4 women. I would love to see them again have a tag team match. There were a nice variety of moves, hard hitting, varied move sets, nice tag, nice period of being in the match by the various partners, unpredictability to it. It was a very good match.
Yeah, I loved it.
Very good match. The only reason it didn't get more is it wasn't longer. Honestly, it just didn't go long enough to get more than 4 bones. Really. You know.
Yeah, so, I would have given it more. I would have given it the 4.5, but
it's got to go a little longer to earn that. It's got to be a little more epic to get into 4.5 bone country.
Yeah, well, I think too, like
that's reserved. 4.5 and 5 bones are reserved for matches that are like 15 minutes at least or more. Pretty much.
Well, it's going to be hard for women to ever get a 4.5 bone match then, because they're never given time. Like, this was long for an AEW
that's just
women's
how
match.
It's not a hard and fast rule. I'm just telling you that's how, you know.
It's a harsh bone rating system you got there.
It's just I would maybe not even say 15 minutes, 10 minutes. It's got to be 10 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got to be at least 10, 12 minutes, I'll say.
I feel
before
like
you get to 4.5.
With AEW, even when it's like the women's championship on the line, they don't give them like 10 to 12 minutes, you know?
Yeah. Or it could be a championship and be fewer minutes.
Oh, okay.
If these are not hard and fast rules.
These are just the feelings.
Yeah, these are just feel. I go based on feeling. I don't go based on rules. This is all subjective. I give what I feel in the moment. I don't have any rule. I'm not like, well, they did this and they did this too. They get a 4.5 and they did this.
I love your nerd voice.
Yeah, I don't do any of that.
Okay.
There's none of that happening with these bone ratings, folks. This is all from the gut.
I see.
Yeah.
I see. Well, I loved this match.
Yeah, good match. Tell us why.
Well, one, we don't get a lot of women's tag matches on AEW, and when we do, they're usually not impressive, because usually not all 4 women in the match can bring it. But these 4 women all brought it.
That's good.
It was only my second time seeing Diamante, but I mean, she's tiny, but she's good. You know, she makes her stuff look really convincing, especially for someone her size. You know, like I don't have the same problem with her moves that I do with like Riho's moves, even though they're both smaller women. You know, I feel like she does a really good job.
Riho's like 85 pounds or something. You know what I mean? It's.
Yeah, but Diamante is small. I mean, she's not
Riho small. She's small, but she's not
But she's like short.
a piece of paper small.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. But I really enjoyed the heel work that the heels did during this match, with just like the sneaky sort of dirty moves. I like Martinez a lot. She reminds me of Sarah Connor from Terminator.
Like what Terminator kind of dirty
2. Moves? Well, like the cheating at the end, which I missed until we rewatched it. Because like at first I thought they won cleanly and was like shocked that that's how this match ended. And so it made way more sense when we watched it the second time because of where we were sitting and Diamante being so small. I couldn't see her using her legs for the pin. But I like that that's how they finished it, you know. And it's leading to next week on Collision, Willow and Diamante having a match together. Mm-hmm. So I think it's nice that they have some kind of story going. Yeah. This will be the third week in a row that this story has continued.
I was going to say, in the last several weeks, they've been doing much better with women's matches having stories.
Yeah.
They've been doing much better. Mm-hmm. They're trying.
They're trying.
I feel like they are. And succeeding.
Yeah. Yeah. No, yeah. I think that this is a really good example of that. The only move that I feel like you missed was Diamante had a really neat rebounding stunner on Statlander.
Oh, I said the stunner.
Oh, did you? I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, then never mind. You missed nothing.
I didn't call it a rebounding stunner. What do you mean by that?
She used the ropes, like she ran the ropes, you know, and like bounced off the ropes to get momentum into her stunner. Oh. So I called it a rebounding stunner.
And she like flipped over her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, it wasn't just like a
she
regular
bounced off
stunner.
the ropes and then flipped over Statlander with a stunner, yeah.
It was one of the coolest moves in the match, I think.
It was like a diamond dust.
I'm going to have to take your word on that because I don't know what that is.
That's what it was like. It was like a diamond dust. If anyone knows, what's his name? Masato Tanaka. It was a diamond dust.
Pulling out a move I've never heard of from a wrestler I've never heard of.
I think that's what it is.
I appreciate your historical knowledge.
I think that's his name.
I'm going to take your word for it.
I swear that's his name. I know that's the name of the move. I think that's his name. Anyways, anything else to say about the tag match? Moving on?
Well, moving on with a great promo from a great woman. And so it was nice to have two awesome women's things back to back.
True.
So what's up next?
Well, Toni Storm was with Lexi Nair, and Lexi tells Toni that Hikaru Shida is now part of the match, part of the four-way at All In I'm talking about. And Toni has a minor meltdown, asking why she told her this, quote, in her vulnerable state. And Toni tells Lexi Nair to shut up. And then after Toni walks out of camera view, a shoe comes flying into the screen. She's thrown a shoe at Lexi. This was really funny. This was really well done. Mm-hmm. So we have a four-way women's title match happening at All In. Of course, we have Hikaru Shida, the women's champion. We have former champion, the always distraught now, Toni Storm. She needs mental health. If you know a friend or family member who is acting as Toni Storm is, you need to get them to seek help. And that is not a joke. Although her behavior is a joke. Who is the third? We have a third in the match. Saraya is the third in the match. And then the fourth is going to be the winner of
Bunny versus Dr. Britt Baker.
Right, and that is coming
DMD.
On Dynamite, I think.
I believe so.
This Wednesday. So it's probably going to end up being Dr. Britt Baker, I assume. So Britt Baker, Shida, Toni Storm, and Saraya. Sounds like a pretty good match, and you know.
Oh yeah.
That'll be interesting to see those four women on such a big stage. And the crazy thing is, you know, about a show that big, every performer, it's the biggest stage they've ever performed on. Everyone there.
Yeah.
Nobody's ever done this before. Nobody's even really been close, except, Sting did less than half of it once at a WrestleMania. WrestleMania 31 or 2, I believe he was at. He did less than half of it. Ricky Steamboat was at WrestleMania 3, but that attendance figure's been beaten. So I can't think of anybody who's really been at... I guess Jeff Hardy has been at some of those newer WrestleManias.
What about Jericho?
My point is... And Jericho, too.
Yeah.
My point is, the best that these people have done, the biggest performances, are like half the crowd of All In. In America, we don't really do 50,000 seat arenas. At All In, they got a goddamned 80,000 seat arena in Wembley. I mean, the place is legendary. Not just for what's happened there, but for its size. It's a giant neighborhood-sized building, and it's one of the largest pitches, as they call it, in football, as they call it. How do you say football in Europe? In fact, that's one of the jokes on Ted Lasso. And it's a show about a football coach from America who becomes a soccer coach in England, and he takes his team, he takes them to a big game at Wembley, and he says, listen guys, this is the same size. He says, don't worry about it, we're gonna be fine. This field is the same size that we practice on back home. And they're all like, no, it isn't. Like, no, it isn't. This is like 3 or 4 times as big as at home. And he's like, really? he's like that. I will never understand this sport. So yeah, which is how I didn't know that either. All the soccer fields are fucking different sizes. Mm-hmm. All the pitches, the pitches are separate sizes. So you play at this one place, and you got to run down the field. Say, 1,000 feet. I'm just making up numbers. You got to run at this other field, it's 4,000 feet. It's wild. What got me talking about? Oh, they're going to Wembley. That's what got me talking about that. They're going to Wembley. Man, it's going to be something else. I'm so glad we're getting to see it. You know what we got to watch in the lead up to this is SummerSlam 92. That's when WWF went to Wembley.
Oh, okay.
We had the main event, Intercontinental title match. Bret the Hitman Hart defends against the British Bulldog. A great match. Many call it one of the greatest matches of all time. Supposedly, Davey Boy Smith had been up smoking crack the entire night and told Bret when they got in the ring, told him, oh, Bret, I forgot the whole fucking match. And so Bret had to lead Davey Boy Smith through the entire match in the ring. And it still became one of the greatest matches of all time. Which shows you
how good Bret Hart is.
How damn good Bret Hart is, yeah. Because you could watch it and you would never think his opponent had been up smoking crack all night and forgotten the entire match. Mm-hmm. That's how good Bret Hart is.
Let's throw the word allegedly in there.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Okay. Bret Hart had it in his book.
Okay.
So, allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly smoking crack all night. Yeah, they're going to Wembley. Also, The Undertaker versus Kamala, the Ugandan giant, in a casket match.
We're getting a casket match.
We're getting a casket.
But they're calling it a coffin match, which is way cooler.
Yeah, it sounds scarier.
Mm-hmm.
Sounds scarier. Plus, no one calls it a casket. Why does WWE call it casket? Who calls it a casket?
I think everyone calls it a casket. I don't refer
Not a coffin?
No. Like if you went to a
You
wake,
say open casket.
You say open casket.
Coffin.
You don't say open coffin. Coffin sounds like scary.
Yeah, I guess that's true. So why are they calling it a coffin match?
Because it sounds scary.
I see.
Plus, I think also to differentiate themselves from WWE.
Oh yeah, surely that much. Because they had a casket match already, but they called it a. That's not what they called it. Remember, they did Christian versus Jungle Boy in a casket match.
It was a buried alive match, wasn't it? Isn't that what they were calling it?
Which, strangely enough, was a WWF match where you had to literally bury your opponent alive. Mm-hmm. Which, in WWF terms, meant putting him in a hole and scooping, like, 3 things of dirt on them. 3 shovelfuls of dirt on them. Also, Shawn Michaels was at SummerSlam 92. Okay. I could go on.
Let's move on.
I could go on. We're going to watch SummerSlam 92.
Okay, we'll watch SummerSlam 92.
Up next, we had a non-title match. We had Ring of Honor World Television Champion Samoa Joe taking on Andrew Everett. And Joe jumps right on him with violent jabs in the corner. Joe then hits an enziguri. Everett goes for a top rope move, and Joe does his signature move where he walks away. Just as the guy's doing a top rope move, he just walks away. And the guy lands, but not on Joe. Joe locks on the coquina clutch for a quick submission victory. This is a squash, and we don't rate squashes here. Joe says he's met with the deafening silence of a coward. Of course, he's referring to CM Punk, who he challenged last week. He gave him a week to answer his challenge. He says the real world champion is acting like a real bitch. And Joe says he's going to convince Punk, which is when I turned to Kay and told her Joe is going to interfere in the main event tonight.
Yes, he did.
So, Samoa Joe gets a win over Andrew Everett. Up next, Christian and TNT champion Luchasaurus come out. Oh, and that was not the last time we would see Samoa Joe. I will tell you that. So Christian and Luchasaurus come out. Christian starts dissing North Carolina, talking about how we're all related, and which is not true. And just so you know,
glad you clarified that.
Yeah, just so you not know, it's not true. There's some intelligent people in North Carolina. And about how we're all second best, like how Michael Jordan is second best to LeBron James. And let me tell you right now, that is not fucking true for a second.
I hope this gives you all a good idea of just how great Christian was at getting under North Carolinian skin. Because, like, you couldn't really hear it on TV, but there was, like, a definite, like, gasp in the arena when he said that. Like, no one could believe what they were hearing.
That's true. There was. People were pissed off. I knew he was going to say it, but just someone saying that is like, I don't even want to say what it's like, because it's something awful. I would have to say something awful, and I don't want to say something awful on the podcast.
Okay.
But that's what it's like. It's like saying something terrible. It's like walking into someone's house and taking a shit on the floor. That's what it's like. He walked into our house and took a shit on the floor. So, Arn Anderson, he's talking about North Carolina, and then we hear, whoa, hold up, or whatever, something like that. And it's fucking Arn Anderson with his 40-year-old son.
He's
Chuck,
not
or
40.
What's Brock Anderson?
What were you going to call him?
Chuckerton? Brock Anderson. Who was it? Brian Alvarez on his show, what did he say? He said No, it was one of his guys, one of his guests on the show. Whatever guys who was on the show with him. God, what did they say? They said he has. I can't remember. But Arn Anderson came out with Brock Anderson. They said he has the hair of Arn Anderson in the 80s and the body of Arn Anderson in a Florida bar in the 2010s.
That's mean.
And the face of Arn Anderson in the 70s.
He's 26.
Oh my God.
I told you he was in his 20s.
Oh my God.
He doesn't look that old.
Oh my God. He looks like he's like 42 years old. At least. Yes, he does. He does too. Poor guy. Yes, he does too. He's going to go bald real early. Old Joe Anderson. What's his name? Brock Anderson's going to go bald real early.
Why are you hating on Brock Anderson?
Because I didn't pay good money to see goddamn cock-sucking Brock Anderson. That's why.
It's not his fault.
That he sucks?
He's still learning. He's young.
He did not need to be on television, I'll tell you that. So, Arn Anderson comes out with Brock, who at one point failed to jump for a choke slam. I mean, he gave Luchasaurus just dead weight. Luchasaurus grabbed him and then dropped him in the same motion. And that begs the question, who decided, here's the thing. They just decided that Brock Anderson, who has not had a television match, I looked it up, in a year and a half.
Mm-hmm.
They just decided to drop him on Greensboro like a shit in a toilet bowl. And we were the toilet bowl, and he was the big piece of shit. They said, Greensboro, they won't boo him. Let's let him return to the ring there. They gotta love him.
Well, he didn't get booed.
And he didn't get booed. And that's the problem. Is that they knew, and then they're gonna that's the problem. Because
do you think they're like relaunching his career and this is a start of something? Or do you think
yeah. Well, yes. Because that's what I'm saying, is they brought him here to see how he was doing because they gave him the lowest bar. Like, dude, can you get over in Greensboro where anyone who mentions the Four Horsemen will get cheered?
Mm-hmm.
And the answer is yes. Yeah, he got over, but he was terrible. He was terrible. It looked like his toupee was going to fall off for half the match.
He wasn't wearing a toupee. Stop being so mean.
He gave Luchasaurus dead weight on a chokeslam. I believe he had to try chokeslam twice. He ended up doing a reverse lariat for the pin and the win. Did Luchasaurus. So there's enough said about that match because I have nothing but profanities left for Brock Anderson. Really, nothing left for profanities for whoever's idea it was to put him on television. And nothing but questions left for Brock Anderson. Like, do you really want to be a wrestler? Convince me.
Man.
Yeah.
So did you rate this match, or did you count this as a squash match?
No, this was a squash match. This was nothing. You know what? I will rate it. This gets a 0. This gets a 0. This gets nothing.
That makes it the lowest rated match you've ever...
That makes it the lowest rated match of all time. Because I could have gone in and given a better match than this. Have you ever heard me say that before? No. No.
And you got to watch it twice.
Yeah. This was bad. Well, I didn't realize how bad it was until I saw it on TV.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't realize just how bad it was until I saw it on TV. And it was bad. I knew I didn't like it, and it was bad before, but I didn't realize the extent until I got to see it on TV.
Mm-hmm. Well, at least one positive that came out of this abysmal match is that after the match, Darby Allin shows up. He sneaks into the ring with his skateboard. I think it kind of came out of the side of the crowd. And he ends up riding his skateboard on Luchasaurus's back. And Luchasaurus and Christian run out of the ring, and Darby Allin gets on the mic and says that Luchasaurus is ancient, that he is 65 billion years old with a B.
Yeah, to which the character who one of his parts of his gimmick, Luchasaurus, is that he doesn't speak. But Darby Allin has said something so stupid that you hear him correcting Darby Allin from behind his mask. You hear him go, "million."
Yeah. To which Darby does not correct himself. He just leaves it hanging in the air.
But
as billion.
the complete part of what Darby said was maybe even dumber and weirder. Do you remember what it was?
No, what are you talking about?
The complete what he said about he said, "You're 66 billion years old. Have you ever had a skateboard shoved up your ass?"
Oh, I forgot. I was so stunned at the 65 billion part that I stopped listening.
Or what I said, 65 billion.
Yeah.
You're 65 billion years old. Have you ever had a skateboard shoved up your ass?
I had completely forgotten that was how he finished that statement. I heard the B in billion and then just shut down. And then, Darby then goes on to talk about how he's going to see Luchasaurus at All Out, which is the pay-per-view following All In, where Darby has a championship match for the TNT title against Luchasaurus. And then up next, we get Tony Schiavone in the ring, and out comes Powerhouse Hobbs. He has his Book of Hobbs with him once again. He talks about the fancy necklaces that he got, and how all he cares about is what it says in the Book of Hobbs. And then out comes Miro. On his way to the ring, Miro gets attacked by Aaron Solo and Nick Camarado, which Hobbs does not look very pleased about. But then once Miro finally makes it into the ring, Hobbs ends up spine-busting him. So I think we're about to get a Miro Hobbs feud, which I think is awesome.
Yeah.
It's nice that they're finally doing something with both of those characters besides squash matches. Mm-hmm. So, awesome. And then... and
I think QT Marshall wasn't involved in all this because he was busy in Mexico winning the AAA Latin America title.
Yeah, and I'm guessing he won it without, help from his crew, because his crew was here with Hobbs.
Yes.
So... pretty cool. Good for
Lucha
him.
legend QT Marshall, who a month ago beat Penta El Cerro Miedo in an ambulance match.
Yeah, that match was crazy.
In Mexico. That match was crazy.
Yeah.
I didn't expect QT Marshall to be a hardcore icon, but he's kind of becoming one in Mexico.
It's awesome. So you have some upcoming matches for us, don't you?
I do, yes. Real quick here. Just what AEW has coming up. Fight for the Fallen is Wednesday on Dynamite. All the donations go to the Maui Food Bank. So, the Maui is on fire, basically. So, a lot of things have been damaged. People dead. Houses destroyed. All that kind of shit. So, give them donations. If I'm able, I will. So here are the matches for the Fight for the Fallen. We will hear from MJF and Adam Cole. We have Orange Cassidy versus Wheeler Yuta for the international title. We have the Guns versus the Young Bucks, which should be pretty good. We have a Texas Chainsaw Massacre match. I don't know what that entails, but I do know that they were hinting that Leatherface might show up for it.
Yeah,
so
that'd be cool.
As a nominee to be Match of the Year already. You forget your fucking Will Ospreays and your Kenny Omegas, and you put this one in there for me. Chris Jericho talks to
But
Don.
you didn't say who's in the death match.
Oh, I'm sorry. Jeff Jarrett and Jeff Hardy facing off.
Battle of the Jeffs.
Battle of the Jeffs. Chris Jericho talks to Don Callis regarding if he's joining his family or not. The Bunny versus Britt Baker. Winner gets in the 4-way women's title match at All In. We have Kenny Omega sitting down with Jim Ross for an interview.
I think that's to talk about his all-in plans also, maybe.
It is, yes.
Yeah.
Yep. And so, what I've heard... Well, I'll go over that in a minute. I'll go over that later. What I've heard about Kenny Omega and All In. Let's see. On Collision, Darby Allin and Nick Wayne versus the Gates of Agony, 2/3 of the Ring of Honor 6-man tag team champions. Also, Diamante versus Willow Nightingale.
And I think it's worth mentioning that Fight for the Fallen isn't just on Wednesday. It's all week for AEW.
Oh,
so
it's through Collision
it's,
also?
It's Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday.
Okay, it'll be on Rampage also and Collision on Saturday. So you don't have to just donate on one night. If payday is Friday and you're waiting till payday like many of us are, then wait till your payday Friday, donate then, donate Saturday. You can spare a couple bucks for people who have no way to get food, nowhere to live right now. So definitely do. So All In, the card for All In. Got the Ring of Honor Tag Team Champions, Aussie Open, defending against Adam Cole, baby, and MJF, the team of Better Than You, baby. Of course, with the world champion MJF in it.
And it's worth noting that that's on 0 hour. So
Right.
if you don't want to buy the pay-per-view, you can still watch awesome matches for free on a 0 hour.
Yeah, that's on YouTube, right? Is that what they put it on?
Yeah, it's usually
Put it
on YouTube. Yeah.
So that'll be on YouTube sometime between noon and... that match will start sometime between noon and 12:45 p.m. on Saturday. And that's a good-ass match to be given away for free.
Yeah, it is.
I wouldn't do it.
I wouldn't do it just because what happens if one of them gets hurt, then you have lost your main event.
No, I wouldn't give it away for free. I mean...
No, I think it's just a bad idea to have your main event people in a different match.
Oh, it's a terrible match. It's a terrible idea.
Yeah.
The biggest show of all time?
Yeah.
It's a terrible idea.
It's just a huge risk.
It's like you're asking for it to happen.
Especially with like a history of concussion issues with one of the two people.
Yeah, it's a terrible idea.
It's not a good plan. But
anyway, so speaking of which, world champion MJF rather, defends his belt against Adam Cole in the main event. Might have the World Tag Team Champions facing off against each other. Who knows? What do you see happening? Quickly.
I'm gonna say Aussie Open retain.
Okay. And then what happens in the world title match?
MJF retains.
Do they stay friends?
Yes.
Okay.
But MJF still stays a jerk to everyone except for Adam Cole.
So everything just stays the same as it is right now?
Yes.
Okay. That sounds like an exciting pay-per-view. I'm sure you'll be right.
I think they might win the tag titles, honestly.
Also at All In, AEW Women's Title, 4-way match. The champion Hikaru Shida defends against Toni Storm of the Outcasts, Saraya of the Outcasts, and she better hope the face wins. She's going to defend against either Britt Baker or who's the woman in the other match?
What?
Who's the woman facing
The Bunny?
Britt Baker? The Bunny, yes, will be the Britt Baker or the Bunny will be the 4th woman in the women's title 4-way. In a coffin match, Sting and Darby Allin team up to face Swerve Strickland and AR Fox of the Mogul Embassy. That should be a cool match, too. This card is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
I've got just a couple more for you, if you give me just a second to get into my phone while we're recording. And these are not official matches. These are just matches that I've read enough of people thinking they're happening to believe that they're happening. We've got IWGP United States title match. The champion Will Ospreay defending against Chris Jericho. I believe that's happening. I believe it'll get announced in this Wednesday meeting with Don Callis on Dynamite. Another match I believe is happening is a 6-man tag. Kenny Omega, Hangman Adam Page of the Elite, and teaming with Kota Ibushi to make it the Golden Elite, or at least part of it. Taking on Switchblade Jay White and Juice Robinson of Bullet Club Gold, teaming with Konosuke Takeshita. And that should be a good one. And in the last match that I've heard that is not official, but I've heard rumblings, and I think it'll probably happen, Blackpool Combat Club, Jon Moxley, Ring of Honor World Champion Claudio Castagnoli, and Wheeler Yuta take on AEW International Champion Orange Cassidy, Eddie Kingston, and a third man. Not sure who that'll be, but someone. But they're kind of throwing these singles champions into that one. You got the Ring of Honor champion, the international champion, both thrown into that. And Eddie Kingston is a
he's a strong
All Japan strong open weight champion. So you got 3 singles champions just thrown into that one. So with all that being said, what looks like the best match? Oh, one match I didn't say. Maybe I did. FTR defending the belts against the Young Bucks. CM Punk defending the Real World title versus Samoa Joe. I didn't say that. I know that. FTR defending the belts, the AEW belts against the Young Bucks. Now I think I've said them all. Sorry about that. And the CM Punk Samoa Joe, I'm just assuming FTR versus the Young Bucks is official. So out of all those, what's the best match, Kay? What's the match of the night?
I think the match of the night is going to be FTR versus the Young Bucks.
Yeah.
But tag team wrestling has my heart, so I might be a little biased, but I think that's going to be it. What about you?
I think it's going to be either MJF versus the Young Bucks.
You mean FTR versus the Young Bucks?
Oh, Jesus Christ, I always do that. Either FTR versus the Young Bucks, or that 6-man with Kenny Omega in it.
Mm-hmm.
That may or may not happen. Or the FTR and the Young Bucks match. Yeah, it's hard to choose. Mm-hmm. Those are the 3 I'm picking. Yeah. All right. Up next, we had the night's main event, the AEW World Trios title match, where the champions, the House of Black, that is Malachi Black, Brody King, and Buddy Matthews, just an awesome team, great team to be the champions. They are defending against another awesome threesome, CM Punk, and the AEW World Tag Team Champions, FTR. That's Dax Harwood and Cash Wheeler, and they are currently the AEW World Tag Team Champions.
You're not giving any respect to the real world champion?
And
belt?
the real world champion, CM Punk.
Yeah, you gotta mention that belt.
Yes, I got it. Nice wrestling sequence by Cash Wheeler and Buddy Matthews to start. Cash tags Harwood in. Malachi Black eventually gets tagged in, and so does Punk. Punk and Black engage in a flurry of reversed and missed moves, and the fans are just eating it up, seeing Punk and Black together. At one point, Punk ducks a Black kick and then sits cross-legged on the mat, staring up at Black. Like, what are you going to do? Black then joins him, cross-legged, sitting on the mat and staring across from him. Being like, all right, I can play head games too. I'm a little off, if you haven't noticed. The other men all line up behind their team's leaders. It's like a fucking X-Men comic book or something, you know?
Yes.
And then the teams, it's awesome. The teams head in and they start fighting each other. And this brawl goes from the ring, goes to the outside. Punk chops Malachi Black several times. Buddy Matthews gets thrown into the barricade. Dax Harwood walks by Julia Hart and gets a little creeped out by her. He's making a creeped out face. Back in the ring after a lot of mischief, Buddy Matthews DDTs Harwood from the middle rope. Brody King tags in and comes in with some big chops on Dax Harwood. I mean, these sent him right to the mat. Brody King looked like fucking Andre the Giant in there with Dax Harwood.
Mm-hmm.
He was laying down the chops. And that just shows you Dax Harwood is really great at making his opponents look good. One of the best in the company at it.
Mm-hmm.
Punk in with the hot tag while Buddy Matthews is in. He looks for the go to sleep. Matthews gets out of it. Punk kicks Black. Punk then pulls Matthews in for a lariat and scales the top turnbuckle. Malachi Black pushes him off. Brody King hits a cannonball on Punk, devastating, as he's seated in the corner with Big Brody King hitting that cannonball. CM Punk hits a go-to-sleep out of nowhere onto Buddy Matthews in about a minute after this sequence. Tags to Brody and Cash. FTR pulls out one of the more popular tag team moves here lately. They double clothesline Malachi Black. And you gotta believe this is not only a move they're doing, but it's also a message they're sending to Better Than You Baby. Because they double clothesline Malachi Black, then they double clothesline Brody King. And they don't do any stupid shit after it. They don't give a wink and a nod or any dancing or any of that shit. They just use the moves and move on.
I think it's worth noting that they double clotheslined both men out of the ring. So it wasn't just a double clothesline, it was a double clothesline that knocked them both over the ropes.
Right. Yeah. Then they flipped Matthews out of the ring and onto them. And then Cash Wheeler came flying out on top of them. Back in the ring, Brody King headbutts Dax Harwood while they're both standing on the ropes. Harwood gets him back off as Harwood crotches Brody King on the ropes. Looked pretty uncomfortable. FTR superplex King here. CM Punk jumps halfway across the ring and puts his leg down before the elbow drop. Doesn't put his weight on the man, or allow any of the move weight to go on his hip. And I've got to tell you, I was bringing this up earlier when we were watching this, and I think Punk may be hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I hate to say that after the recent history.
Do you want to tell them why you think that?
Yeah.
Because you told me, but that was off air.
Yeah, so in this match, that reason, because he did an elbow drop. Now this one was a little iffy. It was far away across the ring. It was like halfway across the ring, but I do feel like he could have made it without putting his legs down first.
Mm-hmm.
But Punk, he just seems unwilling to take falls, to take bumps, and that's never been something about him before. Like for instance, we were watching, what match were we watching earlier?
It was this match.
It was this match. That's what I thought. Okay. Oh no, it was this match. Duh.
Yeah.
And there's a move early on in this match where he should have gone down flat on his back. Where you want a good mat sound. I forget what move it was.
I think it was Malachi Black kicking him.
And him just going down flat on his back.
Mm-hmm. Is what should have happened.
Which is what should have happened. He goes down flat on his back. Make a good mat sound. Especially, with the bottom of your feet, But it's not what he does.
He landed on his side, right?
Yeah, he landed on his side. It's like he doesn't want to take all the weight of landing on his back, and he did it for that move, the kick. Mm-hmm. He did it for. Let me think. There's another move in this match. What was the other thing he did? Was it?
It was several times. Yeah. I didn't write down specifically when they were, but it was. I mean, he didn't take any hard falls to the mat at all during this match. Anytime he landed, he was landing on his side, sort of gently. Mm-hmm. I don't know that I would have noticed had you not pointed it out to me. Mm-hmm. But after you pointed it out to me, it was definitely noticeable. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But there were other moves in this match where you saw it, where he just, he wasn't executing moves 100% properly. It's not because he doesn't know them, it's something else, something physical. And he wasn't selling moves 100%, and it's not because he doesn't know how to sell them, it's because of something else. Mm-hmm. And what it is, I have no fucking idea. I don't know, but something is going on. Yeah. It's just something I noticed. Some kind of. I'm not the first to notice this either. But it is something I noticed during the match. Mm-hmm. And just want to point out to our listeners, Punk is definitely, he's not the top of his game, and he's still really good.
Yeah.
Which just goes to show how good he is, and how much he gives to his matches. We're still not getting A+ CM Punk, but he's still pretty good even when he's not an A+.
Yeah.
It just makes me want to go back and watch the A+ CM Punk Blu-rays.
Yeah. Yeah, we should do that.
We should do that. That's the thing that's nice about when wrestlers actually retire, is that you actually get those Blu-ray collections of the best matches from years and years ago, and you know that it actually is their best matches because they've retired. Mm-hmm. They're not adding to it. They're not doing a match from 5 years from now that's going to be called their best match. They're not doing a match 7 years from now that's going to be included in one just because it was big and they're injured and old and can't do any moves. You get me?
Yeah.
It's just, some things are nice when they're finite, Mm-hmm. But
so back to the match.
Yeah, back to the match. But I just wanted to point that out. I just noticed Joe is not
Punk.
Not I was thinking Punk versus Joe. I wonder why. Punk is not 100% in whether it's mental, physical, a combination of the two. It could, and when I say mental, it could be not wanting to get hurt. Mm-hmm. That he's doing some of these things. It could be something else mentally, which I'm not gonna. I don't know. I don't know where to begin on that. It could be. It could be something else entirely. I don't know. So I'm not going to get into all the things it could be. I just want to tell you what I noticed. All right. So FTR. Let's see. FTR hit a shatter machine on Brody King.
All three men hit that shatter machine.
Excuse me. Yeah, he's a big motherfucker. So all three men hit a shatter machine on Brody King. He is a big guy.
Yeah, he is.
He's a big guy. It really makes it look impressive. What was it? Each man in FTR got a leg, and then Punk grabbed the head. Was that it?
No, it was.
Wasn't it?
It was Dax and Punk next to each other in the front, and then Cash by himself in the back. And so doing like the lifting by the waist for it was two men, and so then Cash just had the head for when he went down. You know, because the people that are in the front are the ones doing the heavy lifting, so that's why they had Punk and Dax there together. Do you get what I'm saying? They lift him by the waist, and then Cash grabs his head and pulls it down on both his knees. So the majority of the weight being lifted, with of course Brody's assistance, is Punk and Dax.
Yeah. Let's see. Buddy Matthews with a Meteora on Wheeler. Harwood then with a Brainbuster on Buddy Matthews. Malachi Black with a running high knee attack on Dax Harwood. Punk with a kick to Black's head. Punk with a tope suicida outside on Black. And then Black starts spinning. It's spinning around to where he can't see the opposite corner of the arena. And we see why that is in a minute. Dax Harwood with a falling headbutt onto King back in the ring. And back outside the ring where Punk spun to because he had to be in place for a spot. We see Samoa Joe is now choking out Punk in beside the fans. And then Julia Hart distracts Dax Harwood on the apron. And Buddy King with a lariat for the pin and the win. 4 bones out of 5.
Brody King.
Yeah. Brody King with a lariat for the pin and the win. 4 bones out of 5. Match of the night. No question. The women's tag match was good, but it had no chance against this match. This was a good one. They gave it like half a fucking hour, pretty much. And it was a good match. Had a story, had some cool spots. Wasn't as good as I was hoping, but it was still pretty damn good. You try not to build up expectations too much, but yeah, it was a darn good match.
They gave it more time than I expected.
Yeah, me too. So, which was nice. Well, but you gotta remember, they did give us the Acclaimed versus Iron Savages. They gave us Brock Anderson versus Luchasaurus.
And a Samoa Joe squash match.
Samoa Joe versus Mark Peterson. What is his name?
It was like something average. Andrew Everett.
Andrew Everett. So fucking what? And that's the question. I'd say Brian Alvarez asked on the show, where was everybody? Where the fuck was everybody?
Yeah. I don't have an answer for you.
Where the fuck were they all? What the fuck? As a paying customer, that is my number one question coming out of the show. Is where the fuck was everybody?
Yeah.
Do you remember how many people were advertised for this show?
Oh, like a ton.
How many do you think actually came? 50%? 55%? 60%?
I would say less than 50%.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, in the advertisements, especially like the radio ads, they were naming like Orange Cassidy, Thunder Rosa, Andrade, El Idolo, and none of those people were there. Which, I mean, kind of card subject to change. And we knew hearing those ads, there's no way all those people are going to be there. We expected some of them to be there.
And I'm sure, though, if I'm sure some people expected them to be there, though.
Yeah.
And that's fucked up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. I still had a really good time and enjoyed it, but it was definitely not the best Collision episode ever.
No, it was maybe the worst Collision ever. Out of what? How many episodes is it? 8 now.
This was 9.
9.
I think it was the second worst Collision.
What was on the worst? Do you remember?
No, because it was the worst, so I tried to push it out of my mind. I think there were like multiple squash matches on the worst one.
Yeah, that sounds very similar. But we have it in our notes somewhere.
I had a question for you. So during this match, Nigel McGuinness made a great point about him. He was crediting Malachi being the leader of the House of Black with their success rate, because he was saying that Malachi is very good at orchestrating his team and planning, and his planning being the reason for their success. Do you agree with that, or do you think it's because of the diversity of the members of the team as far as their move sets and strengths in the ring go?
I think it's the booker picking them to win with his pencil.
Well, suspend your disbelief for a minute here.
Not on this show, I won't. We keep it real. Not on this show. We keep it real.
Okay, why do you think the booker is doing it? Like, do you think he's trying to say because of their strength and diversity of skill, or because Malachi is so conniving?
That what? They win?
Yeah, what do they want us to think?
Malachi is so strong, yes.
As a leader?
Yes.
Okay.
He's so strong as a leader, he can mold people and get more out of an already good Buddy Matthews and already Brody King, and craft them into levels above whatever they already were. That's my opinion on it, yeah.
Okay, cool. I think it's worth mentioning.
Which I think is the reason they're going to have to, I mean, they already are just because he's good as fuck, but is a reason they're going to have to push Malachi Black, give him a big push at some point.
Make him champ, maybe?
Oh, yeah. Oh, God, yes.
Yeah,
because there's only so many people you can build yourself until you got to get built up. Or it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
Because then why wouldn't you just go for it yourself? And then he wins the championship, and then it'll become more believable that he's leading people on the road. For right now, it's fine. It's still believable. You can't be a champion. Not everybody can be in the title scene. He's still new enough. It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
He hasn't won a title. But if he hasn't in like 2 years, it becomes a big deal.
I see what you're saying.
So he should be world champion within 2 years, I feel. And I feel he's headed on that path. I mean, he's one of the best wrestlers they have, I think. One of, the 5 best they have, for sure.
Who would you most want to see him in a singles match against?
AEW or all of
no,
wrestling?
AEW.
AEW? Bryan Danielson.
That is who I was going to pick. Why did you pick him?
He's great.
I feel like it would just be a really interesting match to see Bryan Danielson's technical style wrestling mixed with the sort of kickboxing, I guess, or MMA style of Malachi's. I think that would make for a really interesting match.
I agree. Plus, Malachi Black seems like inherently evil, and Bryan Danielson seems like inherently good.
I know, which is why they got to stop trying to make him a heel. It doesn't work.
Yeah, yeah. He needs to come back as a face.
Yeah,
it doesn't work. No.
Yeah,
doesn't work with Bryan Danielson.
So when can our folks hear from us again?
So, folks, we had a busy week. We got off track with our schedule. Sorry. We had real life things come up. We try and avoid that as much as we can, but life gets in the way of hobbies sometimes, which is what this is for us, until y'all start shelling out. So
this week we're going to return to our regular schedule now.
Yeah,
so Thursday.
So Thursday is our Dynamite report, and Sunday is our Collision report. Sorry, our dog is snoring. It's very cute.
So when our schedules get changed, if you want to make sure you don't miss out on a podcast, make sure to subscribe wherever you listen to good podcasts. And also please rate us 5 stars, 5 bones, whatever they'll let you rate us.
Mm-hmm.
Also check out our YouTube page and make sure to subscribe there, as we are going to start posting more and more videos.
Yep.
And as Mick Foley would say, have a nice day.